let's talk about the toolbar. The toolbar is such an important part of Photoshop that you hear a lot about, and I'm going to demystify it for you. Okay, so as you remember from the last lesson, the toolbar is over here on the left, and it's pretty long and skinny. There are a few things that the toolbar does that you might want to know about. If you don't like it being long and skinny, you can always double-click right in between that X and those arrows, or you can just click the arrows, and it will change between two views that the toolbar has. It has long and skinny, and then short and fat. So you might like it one way. I like it long and skinny. That is also the default view, I believe. So it's really up to you. You can use it either way you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to go briefly through some of the more important tools, and then I'll set you on your way to the next lesson. All right. Okay, so our first tool is just the selection tool, and you will use this for just about everything. It allows you to grab things, move them around on your canvas, and again, you'll just use this all the time. This will be your most often used tool. And again, it's called the selection tool, and you will use it all the time. The shortcut for this tool, which I will not tell you all this very frequently. I'm not going to tell you shortcuts all the time and for all the tools, but the shortcut for this tool is V. And you are allowed to hover your mouse over a tool and leave it there. It'll tell you the name of the tool. This is actually called the Move tool. And the shortcut is also right there. Let's hover back over it. It says V. So that's the shortcut key for this. So say I was on this cropping tool and I wanted to go back to that selection Move tool. I would just press V, and that would take me back to that Move tool. Okay. So again, as you see, I have this image here. I'll show it for you, a picture of my lovely friends, Kevin and Yoko. So if I have the Move tool and I have this layer over here selected, I can move them around, which is quite nice. So that is the Move tool. Let's keep going. This down here is simply called the elliptical marquee tool. And again, like I showed you before, if I hold my mouse down on there, it will show me all of the other kinds of tools within that tool. So again, we have a rectangular marquee tool, a single row, and a single column marquee tool. So I use the rectangle one most often because I do squares and rectangles a little bit more than I do circles, but that doesn't matter. For this, we can do a circle. So if I have an image selected, for example, I could click and drag this marquee tool. I'll just let go here. And as you can see, I have this dotted marching ants kind of line going around my image. And since I have my image selected, if I wanted to, I could literally just press delete on my keyboard, and I've just completely removed that part from Kevin and Yoko. They're gone. Bye. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go back in time. I'll show you how to do that later. But that is what this marquee tool does. It makes selections, and then you can do things with that selection. So again, I could do Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And now I have Kevin's little head and another layer, and I could use the Move tool. I pressed V to go back to the Move tool, and I can move Kevin's face around, put him on Yoko if I wanted to. And that's how that works. Okay, again, I'm not going to go through all of the tools this in depth, but that is an important one to know. The next tool we have here is the lasso tool, and if I click and hold again, I can see more tools that are behind. So I have the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and then the magnetic lasso tool. These are fun. I love these tools. So they do exactly what that elliptical marquee tool did, but I can make my own shapes. So I could make my own marching ant selection. See there, I did that. And you have to click and hold down while you're drawing. So you're basically clicking and holding while you're drawing a shape. And then you always have to make sure that you end up where you started and let go, and it will connect that for you. If you don't end where you say I want to end here and I don't actually connect back to the beginning, I would just let go and it'll connect it for me, which is quite nice. Okay, so that's the lasso tool. The polygonal lasso tool, I make these little points. See, I'm clicking here, clicking here, clicking here, clicking here, and it's doing this for me. And then if I go back to the beginning, you'll see that little circle that popped up. There it goes again, popped up. That means that I've completed the shape, and then I can click again to make those marching ants appear. And then here we have the magnetic lasso tool, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here on Yoko, and you'll see if I grab my magnetic lasso tool, if I click once, and then I'm not clicking anymore or doing anything, I'm just lining Yoko's shoulder, it's trying to grab everything that's similar color, so it's grabbing all around her shoulder for me, which is quite nice whenever you're trying to cut someone out of a photo. Okay, so if I click again, it will make points for me. So I'm clicking, 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 and then I can click my way back to the beginning if I wanted to, and there are my marching ants again. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Click on this for 100%. Okay, so up next we have the quick selection tool. I won't go into this one too much, but it does kind of the same thing, although you just click on areas and it'll try to grab everything it associates in that chunk. As you can see, it's not doing such a good job. I tried to just grab Kevin's arm here and then Kevin's hand, but when I grabbed Kevin's hand, it kind of went up into the building. It's not the most intuitive, but this is kind of a cluttered photograph, so if I had a more simplistic photo, it might work a little bit better. Okay, up next we have the crop tool, and then a few other tools within that tool that are a little more advanced. So the crop tool is exactly what it says. I can crop the size of my canvas. So I could either click and drag with the crop tool to select that area to crop, or if I just by the default view, I could go down and I could select this area and pull it up, could select this corner, manipulate the corner, and then you can see my little guides that say width and height down there in the bottom left-hand corner. That helps me out. If I wanted to change my document to only be a certain amount of inches in height, then I could change it to those inches. Okay, down here we have the, let's see what it's technically called, the eyedropper tool. Okay, so we have this eyedropper tool, and this samples colors for us. I think if you've ever messed around with Paint or any other sort of computer graphics program, you're probably pretty familiar with the eyedropper tool. So if I wanted to sample the color of red from Yoko's hat, I could just click with the eyedropper tool, and you can see what happened there. As I'm moving and holding down my mouse while I'm clicking, it's grabbing those different colors and comparing them to the last color I selected. So I'm selecting this color, I let go with my mouse, and now you can see that my color is down here, and now I have that color selected. Alright, next up we have the spot healing brush tool. And within that one, we have a few others, including the patch tool, which is my favorite, which I will show you right now. All of these tools are really great for editing photos. So if you're removing blemishes from a photo, these are really great. If you're removing red eye from a photo, these are really great. And we'll dive more into these later on, but for now I'm going to show you this patch tool because I just love it so much. So let's zoom on in. So in this photograph, there's this little spot here. I think it might be a graphic that was in Yoko's shirt, but whenever you zoom all the way out, you can't quite tell what it is. It looks like it might be dirt or something. So if I zoom in and I want to get rid of it, I'm going to zoom way in so I can really look at it. I can take this patch tool here, select it. I'm going to just draw, click and drag and draw around it. Let go. I have my marching ants. Okay, so the tricky part here is that I hold this, click, drag until I find an area that's clean that I want it to look like, let go, and then press Command D, as in dog, which deselects the marching ants. And look, it's gone. Pretty great, right? Okay, so I'll go back to zoom 100%, and look, it's gone. Awesome. Okay, next tool is the paintbrush tool. I think we need to speed things along here, huh? So the paintbrush tool does exactly what you think it does. It paints, and it paints the color that I have selected, this red color from Yoko's hat. Simple. There are other kinds of paintbrush tools. The stamp tool, I'm not going to go into that stamp tool right now because it's not really that relevant for me, and you might like it, so do a little bit of exploring on your own later. The history brush tool, again, I'm not going to go into that one today, but it is very important. The eraser tool, it does exactly what you think it does as well. It erases. Okay. The gradient tool makes gradients. By default, it shows what the color I had selected is. That fades to white. If you click and drag, you can change the direction of the gradient, which is pretty nice. I'm going to go back in time a little bit here. I'll show you how to go back in time later. Okay, so now the next tool we have is the blur tool. There's also a sharpen tool and a smudge tool. The blur tool blurs out areas. You can see it's doing it very subtly, but it is blurring Kevin's arm. Pretty fun. The strength, if you go up here, how we have these tool settings, the strength is at 50%. I could change that to 100% and it would be much more strong for blurring out Kevin's face if Kevin wants to remain anonymous. Okay, going back in time. And then again, we have here a dodge tool and a burn tool. So dodge and burn are Photoshoppy terms for lighten and darken. So dodge means lighten, so I can literally lighten an area. See how Kevin's face is getting really bright? Ah. And then I can also burn Kevin's face and make it darker. So if I go to this burn tool, I can make Kevin's face darker. Okay, next up we have the pen tool. And this is a handy tool that we will definitely dive more into later. But it makes selections and it makes shapes. So I just made a selection, but if I wanted to make a shape, I would go up here to the tool options and select from path to shape. And look, now I'm making a shape. So I just made a weird abstract shape, which is really fun. We will definitely, again, go back into the pen tool. The next tool we have here is the type tool. So I can click and I can type something. It's pretty small. So if I go up here into the, if I go back up here into these tool selection styles and details, I can change my font here. I can change the size to something larger. And there we have that. I typed something. Okay, again, also with the type tool, we're definitely going to go more into that in a different lesson. Down here we have our direct selection and path selection tool. And then again, down here we have shapes. So I can make rectangles in the shapes tool. I can use the ellipse tool to make circles. I can use the polygon tool to make polygons. And I can make lines with the line tool. Lots and lots of shapes to be made here. Let's get out of there. Okay. Next up we have this, what is it called here? The hand tool. Okay, so the hand tool just moves your canvas around. And there's actually something I like to do a little bit more with the hand tool, and it's a shortcut. So say, for instance, I was on my move tool, and I wanted to move my canvas around. If I use the move tool, it's just going to move whatever this photo I have selected is. But if I want to move the canvas around, I would literally, if I'm not on the hand tool, I'm on a different tool, I can just press space. And while I have space held down, I can then move the canvas around. And I use this all the time. It has become sort of a second nature gesture for me, which I really like doing. Again, you have to hold down space and then I can move around. Last but not least, we have the zoom tool, which zooms in and out. So if I zoom in, I just click. And if I want to zoom out, I can hold down Option, which is also the Alt key on Mac keyboards. And I can zoom out while I click that. And you'll see that little zoom icon there changes from a plus to a minus when I hold down Option and click. And again, you have options up here, and I can do 100%. So if I was zoomed in and I clicked 100%, it will move it back to where it's 100%. Fit to screen simply fits the entire thing into the size of your screen, no matter what size of screen you have. And then fill screen fills up your screen real nice. And then again, I can hold down spacebar and kind of move my canvas around with that hand tool. Okay, the last couple things in the toolbar are these color swatches. So clicking that defaults it to black and white. So this color on the front is your foreground color, and the color in the back is your background color. So if I have the foreground color is the one you really want to deal with the most often. So you can change your color here. Changed it to yellow, and then when I make a shape, it's going to be yellow because I have that selected as my foreground color. And then if I want to save yellow for later, but I want to use white for now, I could switch these to where now white is my foreground color, and that's going to be the color that I make shapes with or do anything with. But if I just want to have yellow at my disposal for later, I could always just keep it in the background and then swap it back and forth with these little arrows. Okay, that's everything you need to know with the toolbar. Again, we will be diving much deeper into some of these tools later on. But I just wanted you to be understanding of what all these tools do. I think it's definitely time for you to take a drink of water and pace around your home or apartment because that was quite a doozy. I will see you in the next tutorial.